Thank you, Russ.
Now, for people who are not familiar with the Engineer Mines, can you first sort of give us the setting of this place?
Engineer Mine is situated on the east arm of the Taku arm of Tagish Lake, just southwest of Atlin. The property is barge accessible from Carcross in the summertime, and also by float plane or helicopter from Atlin. And in the wintertime, it freezes up and you can get there along the lake.
Now, this was a very interesting history. If you can find it online, and it's really, really interesting. Now, maybe you can give us kind of a short version, because I know you could do volumes on this mine.
Yeah, it's got gold was discovered at Engineer Mine in 1899 by Charles A. Anderson, who was an engineer looking for a path for the White Pass Yukon Railway. And in the past 110 years, it has had a very, very colorful history. It's included things, discovery, prospecting, claim staking, mining promotion, capital being raised, capital being lost, mine construction, the mining of very rich, high-grade gold chutes. Engineers were very well known for that. And then all the nasty things that go with mining and businesses, swindling. There's infidelity. There's litigation. People dying. More litigation. Bankruptcy. Change of ownership. And I guess the top of the heap for engineers, there's a curse on the property.
Yes, I've heard about that curse. Can you tell us a bit about what people believe that is?
Well. It was documented, I guess, as kind of a story, and the first reference I found about it was in the 1940s, and it just basically says that nothing but death and disaster would be the lot of Alexander and anyone else who had anything to do with the property. Now, Captain James Alexander is a very colorful individual, and he's the man that pretty much got Engineer up and running, and so there was a lot of drama and a lot of history. But that curse was in the first mention of it was in the 40s, and there were a number of people that died or had some suspicious deaths, either going to or from Engineer Mine in previous years.
Yeah, and Captain Alexander, he died on the Princess Sophia, didn't he?
That's right. That along with what was believed at the time to be his wife and some other company representatives, they went up to visit Engineer in 1918, and then on their return trip, the Princess Sophia ran aground on the Vanderbilt Reef in the Lynn Canal, and all passengers perished when the ship went down. As it turns out, the woman that was with Captain Alexander wasn't his wife. Then the mine went into there's litigation and more ownership issues, and it's pretty complicated history.
Now, it's a wealth of information about the history. What about the mine itself? Let's look at it from a true mining perspective. What can you tell us about the value of the property? Is there a lot of gold in there?
The heyday of Engineer was in the mid-1920s. A full mine was built. There was a power plant transmission from One River. 50-ton per day concentrator was built. At that time, there were 450 people living at the mine site, and the production was intermittent, and when the concentrator got going, they processed, totally from our records, about 18,000 ounces of gold have been produced at Engineer Mine, and 9,000 ounces of silver at realized grades of better than an ounce per ton gold and a half ounce per ton silver. The mine continued to operate on an intermittent basis until 1931. Work stopped, even though reserves had been established at the lower levels of the mine. BC Gold Corp acquired the property or an option to the property in late 2006. To date, the company has spent up to in excess of $1.5 million exploring the property. In the beginning of next month, we will be commencing a Phase 1 underground diamond drill program to drill off some extensions of the high-grade veins that were mined previously, in hopes that we can confirm that grades persist at depth, and then this could provide us with the impetus to dewater the lower levels of the mine, which are flooded, and undertake more exploration and development, and possibly open up the mine again one day soon.
So are you reworking the original tunnels, or are you taking another run at this?
Yes, we are. We're going to be drilling from underground. The conditions, the ground is held up very well over the years. It was typically a narrow vein type mining operation. So in 2008, BC Gold was in there, and we had a small drill program on surface, but we were targeting a shear zone, something a little different that never really that hadn't been tested to date at Engineer Mine. We had some success with that, but in this current climate with gold and $1,200 gold, we feel that the time is certainly right to go for the high grade, and we think there's a lot of high grade left to be found and mined at Engineer Mine.
Now, there was a time they actually had their own power plant up there, wasn't there?
That's correct. You can still see vestiges of the transmission lines to the south. It was all self-contained.
Any chance of trying to rebuild something like that to help out with the operation?
Absolutely. We have a modern trailer camp on site, and we generate our own power for whatever we're doing for underground work and drilling. There is a mill, a fully permitted 25-ton per day gravity separation mill that is on the property that the company could utilize to process any bulk sample material or any mineralized material that we bring to surface. If the mine our main challenge will be to, first off, determine that there is more gold and extensions to these veins, and develop a resource, and as I said earlier, dewater. BC Gold Corp has a valid permit to dewater the lower levels of the mine, and so this drilling is a primary a very important first step towards in that process.
Well, if it goes where your hunch leads you, how big of an operation do you think this potentially could be?
Well, from the narrow vein standpoint, they're typically very difficult deposits to mine and explore. So I wouldn't see it being, I think 100 ton per day on a narrow vein is probably pretty, if you could do that, I think you're doing very, very well. What BC Gold Corp likes about an Engineer Mine is that, yes, there are a lot. Past production has only come from about 3 or 4 veins, and we know of at least 25 veins on the property. There hasn't been any real exploration below 200 meters below surface, so we think there's great upside for more vein-style mineralization, but there's also a big shear zone that goes through the property, and like I mentioned earlier, we were targeting that and looking for the possibility of much broader widths of 30 to 50 meters, kind of 6 to 8 gram type mineralization, and that would really open things up for Engineer, where then you'd be looking at a much larger operation. So we have both targets in mind, and as I mentioned earlier, we've gone. This year we want to concentrate on the high grade and see if we can develop a sustainable resource in the high grade.
All right. Well, we'll let you get back to the planning for that. Brian, thank you very much for joining us, though.
Thank you, Russ.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.